Two trains moved in opposite directions across Los Angeles County. One, a westbound commuter train leaving the city, the other, a freight train heading toward it. Two lines kept trains apart until Chatsworth, where they merged to one. A red signal protected that section, however, one engineer didn't see it, and the reason why was pretty bad. This is the story of the Chatsworth train collision. At around 3:35 p.m. on the 12th of September 2008, Metrolink train number 111 departed Los Angeles Union Station, heading west for Moore Park on the Ventura County line. Metrolink train 111 consisted of one EMD F59PH locomotive, pulling three Bombardier bi-level passenger cars. The locomotive engineer was 46-year-old Robert Sanchez. He was working an 11-hour split shift, having begun his shift around 6 that morning and expected to finish around 9 that night. Headed in the opposite direction was a Union Pacific local freight train headed toward Los Angeles. Powered by two EMD SD70 Ace locomotives hauling 17 freight cars, there was a two-man crew occupying the lead locomotive, with a brakeman riding in the second. The Ventura County line is double-tracked through most of the corridor, but narrows to a single line through the Santa Susana Pass, where several tunnels are only wide enough for one track. West of the pass, near Simi Valley, it returns to double track. Most days, train 111 waits at Chatsworth for the Union Pacific to clear the single track, unless the freight train arrives first. At around 4:16 p.m, Metrolink train 111 departed Chatsworth Station. Just beyond the platform, the next signal glowed red, meaning Sanchez was required to stop to await the oncoming Union Pacific, occupying the single line ahead. However, rather than stop, Sanchez failed to notice the red light, kept on going, and smashed through a set of turnout points set against him. Now, a collision course was set. Both trains occupied the same single track and were closing in fast. At 4:22 p.m, as the Union Pacific train exited Tunnel 28 just south of State Route 118 near Andorra Avenue, the engineer saw Metrolink 111 straight in front of him. He activated his emergency brake, but at just 2 seconds to impact, it was much too late. Shockingly, Sanchez, driving the Metrolink, never applied his brake. Both trains were moving at around 42 miles per hour when they collided. The Metrolink's front car crumpled into its own locomotive and the two merged into one. The 3 locomotives, the leading passenger car, and 10 of the freight cars all derailed, several toppled, and fire spread throughout the wreckage. 23 people had died in the collision, including the Metrolink engineer, Robert Sanchez, and 2 more succumbed to their injuries in the days that followed. 135 others were injured, 46 of them critically. Amazingly, both crew members in the Union Pacific lead locomotive survived, and the brakeman riding in the second locomotive survived too. The Los Angeles Fire Department arrived within minutes, cutting through fences from a nearby home to reach the site. Dozens of engines, rescue units, and air ambulances descended on the scene, and a temporary morgue was set up under an air-conditioned tent. For rescuers, it was chaos on an unimaginable scale. Passengers suffered crush injuries, burns, and fractures and were sent to hospitals across the country. A first responder described the wreck as beyond human description, while a surgeon involved said of the victims, "They have head injuries, multiple facial fractures, chest trauma, collapsed lungs, and cuts in the skin and soft tissue. Some have blood in the brain. The day following the incident, a Metrolink spokeswoman was quick to admit that their driver had likely caused the accident, publicly stating that he had failed to stop at a red signal. Although, for her candidness, she was pressured into resigning a few days later. However, if Sanchez had indeed passed a red signal, investigators needed to know why. The investigation into the accident was conducted by the National Transportation Safety Board. Investigators interviewed surviving crew, reviewed radio traffic, and recovered the train's data recorders, 2 from the Metrolink, and both a data and video recorder from the freight train. The data showed the engineer of the freight train hit the emergency brakes 2 seconds before impact, while Sanchez in the Metrolink never braked at all. After conducting several tests, including the signal system and line-of-sight simulations, the board confirmed that the signal system had functioned as intended. As the lead investigator said, "We can say with confidence that the signal system was working." A reenactment in the days that followed showed the engineers could not see each other until just a few seconds before impact. With equipment failure ruled out, attention shifted to human factors, including Sanchez's split shift and the possibility he was fatigued. However, some far more damning information was about to come out. In the days following, a news channel broke the story that Robert Sanchez in the Metrolink had been texting a young rail fan just 22 seconds before impact. He had met the unidentified 16-year-old earlier that year through an online rail group, and the two had kept in contact, talking about trains ever since. Although investigators never recovered his phone from the wreckage, subpoenaed records confirmed he had been sending and receiving text messages while en route. In fact, on the first run earlier that day, Sanchez had sent 45 text messages while driving. On the second run, the fatal run, he'd sent 5 and received 7, with his final sent message at 4:22:01, 22 seconds before impact. Digging further into his record, investigators learned he had already received 2 warnings from his supervisor over improper use of his cell phone. However, this wasn't even the worst of it. Interviews with the 16-year-old rail fan revealed that Sanchez had taken him and a friend on an unauthorized cab ride 4 days before the accident. However, if this wasn't bad enough, on the day of the crash, Sanchez had organized for the young rail fan to ride in the cab again that evening. This time though, not in the jump seat, the plan was to let him drive. The text thread in the seconds before the crash was to arrange the meeting spot. On the 21st of January 2010, the NTSB concluded that the collision was most likely caused by the Metrolink engineer texting while on duty, leading him to miss a stop signal and enter the path of the Union Pacific train. The board noted the absence of positive train control as a contributing factor and renewed calls for in-cab audio and video recording. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Metrolink and Veolia Transport agreed to pay $200 million in compensation, an amount capped under federal law for a train accident. The funds were distributed to the victims and their families based on the severity of their injuries and loss. The Chatsworth collision began with one rule broken, a phone in hand when both eyes should have been on the track. A single distraction led to a missed signal and 2 trains sharing the same track, and a collision that cost the lives of 25 people. In a cruel twist of fate, a passenger killed in the collision had previously survived the Glendale train crash in 2005. To watch my full coverage of that event, you can click the link on screen. If you found value in today's video, I'd love it if you subscribed and joined me for the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.